In the beginning, the Emperor divided his Angels of Death into 20 large legions, each one led by their progenitor Primarch, but after the terrible betrayal of Horus Lupercal and his traitorous Primarch brethren, in what became known as the Horus Heresy, the loyalist legions of the Adeptus Astartes were split into 1,000-man Space Marine chapters, in order to ensure that no Space Marine force could ever gain as much strength as the War Masters did. Each one of these chapters was a unique military force that showcased their parent legion's military traits, but maintained a strict autonomy from their first founding legion and the rest of the Imperium. As time went on and more chapters were created, the beliefs, battlefield tactics, and even the appearance of each successor chapter became increasingly unique. Many went on to form just as much notoriety as their predecessors, but there are other chapters within the long history of the Imperium that, although have tremendous battle honors, are often overlooked or even forgotten. The following is a small list of some of the Imperium's most mysterious and powerful successor chapters that don't get enough attention from the players as well as Games Workshop. The first chapter on my list is the bone-chilling Carcharodons, a brutal and unforgiving Space Marine chapter that gained a reputation for its savage tactics during the Bad App War. The Carcharodons hunted down the Space Marine chapters that they felt betrayed the Imperium of Man by siding with the traitor Luft Huron and his Astral Claws chapter. Considered to be expert Space Marine killers, the chapter utilizes expert spacefaring skills to outmaneuver and attack its target with extreme speed and stealth. They would use highly coordinated boarding actions to strike at the enemies before the prey even knew what was happening. The chapter relied on large detachments of mobile Space Marine heavy infantry that overwhelmed the enemy with brutal and bloody melee combat. A mixture of tactical and assault marines, coupled with Terminator veterans, would leave many enemies in a pool of their own blood. If the foe managed to counterattack, the Carcharodons would withdraw but stay close enough to their injured prey, watching them bleed out while they desperately try to gain control of the situation. Their frighteningly effective void battle tactics were expertly formed throughout the chapter's long history as a crusading chapter. Although their exact origins is a mystery, the Carcharodons seem to have been created as an Astarte force tasked with crusading into the outer darkness of the galaxy in order to ravage the Xeno, the traitor, and the mutant that thinks that they can find safe havens in the void. Their strange mission is why so many other Imperial forces have no idea who the chapter is when they are encountered in combat. Their gray and black power armor is covered in abstract markings depicting fanged mauls, death heads, and their chapter's badge of ancient Terra's oceanic predator, the Great White Shark. These iconographies, coupled with the chapter's brutally savage tactics and unknown origins, have led many to believe that this is a successor chapter of a traitor legion and was formed from the Terran-born survivors of the World Eaters Legion, although this theory is hidden with a false sense that they are a descendant of the Raven Guard Legion. The appearance, mysterious origin, and sinister nature of the Carcharodons is why this successor chapter deserves more attention from us and the hobby. The next successor chapter on the list is The Exorcist. This band of Space Marines was created under a veil of secrecy that continues to this day. Only the highest ranking members of the Ordo Malleus of the Inquisition knows the true source of the chapter's gene seed. Due to the chapter's incredible resiliency towards chaos corruption, many Imperial savants believe the chapter can trace its lineage to the Grey Knights. The Exorcists do not shy away from using the powers of the warp to fight their enemies. In fact, the chapter holds an initiation ritual where each battle brother must allow his body to become a vassal for a demon, thus becoming a demon host before the foul creature is expelled back into the Immaterium through an exorcism. Their acceptance of the forbidden and dark arts of the warp have led to many conflicts between them and less radical military forces in the Imperium. However, the chapter has never faltered on their duty to serve the Imperium of Man, at least not yet. The chapter is divided into battle groups that resemble the ancient warrior lodges of the Great Crusade. These subcults within the chapter specialize in a particular branch of demonic lore. In battle, the Exorcists unleash their mastery of demonology by reciting countless demon-slaying chants and covering their bodies in numerous wards that protect them from the ruinous powers of chaos. Although the chapter leans more towards rapid analysis and exploitation of their enemies to get the job done, they also are incredibly powerful in melee combat, unleashing all of their restraint aggression on the enemy. The chapter is also in possession of many tainted relics and artifacts that they have collected throughout the years. Their red power armor and leering Horned Devil's Head chapter badge raises many eyebrows amongst their brethren who hate the witch. Nevertheless, the Exorcists are a successor chapter with a mysterious mission and an unusual past that requires more attention from hobbyists. The next chapter on my short list is the Steel Confessors. Sometime during the 36th millennium, the Adeptus Mechanicus found itself besieged by the various threats plaguing mankind, while their Skitarii cohorts unquestionably fought for the safety of the various Forge worlds in the galaxy. The AdMech believed that they needed something stronger to protect their interest and rival the strength and power of any other Imperial force. They took it upon themselves to create a secret chapter of Space Marines that only bore loyalty to Mars and the Cult Mechanicus. Understanding that out of the loyalist Primarchs, only Ferrus Manus and his sons, the Iron Hands, maintained the closest belief system to that of the Cult Mechanicus, and so they took the tithe gene seed of this loyalist first founding legion, and without permission from the High Lords of Terra, they created the Steel Confessors. Clad in metallic silver with green trim, and bearing the chapter's badge of the black cross-lead, with a white lightning bolt surmounted in the middle of a red oval, the Steel Confessors were introduced to the Imperium during the 19th Space Marine founding. Unfortunately for the Adeptus Mechanicus, the Inquisition discovered their secret scheme to create the private Space Marine chapter that was the Steel Legion, and reported the act to the High Lords of Terra. After much deliberation, the High Lords decreed that despite the Adeptus Mechanicus having greatly overstepped their mandate, they would be allowed to keep this newly created chapter, with certain limitations of course. The Steel Confessors were first required to take the same vows of fealty and loyalty to the Imperium of Man that bound all Space Marine chapters, and to separate itself organizationally from the Adeptus Mechanicus so that it operated as a truly independent chapter, just like all the others. Though the Mechanicus was not well pleased by this edict of the High Lords, they begrudgingly agreed to Terra's terms so as to avoid a potential conflict which both Mars and Terra could ill afford in the tumultuous days of the 36th millennium, known as the Age of Apostasy. Because of the Adeptus Mechanicus' influence on the chapter, the Steel Confessors are organized predominantly according to the tenets of the Codex Astartes, though they do incorporate some of the atypical organizational elements used by the Iron Hands. The Steel Confessors divided the chapter up into 10 standard companies, rather than the clad companies as the Iron Hands do. The Steel Confessors do not incorporate the specialist rank of the Iron Hands, known as the Iron Father, within their chapter, preferring to keep the two traditional Astartes specialties of Chaplain and Tech Marine separate, as in most other chapters. However, all of the Steel Confessors company captains are also trained to serve as both Artificers and Tech Marines. The chapter master of the Steel Confessors is traditionally chosen by a council composed of the chapter's company captains, chaplains, librarians, and dreadnoughts. In the event of a tie vote between the two candidates, the 5 most senior sergeants within the chapter then cast their vote. Because of their close relationship with the Adeptus Mechanicus, the Steel Confessors are provided with an excellent supply of the finest heavy arms, armor, war machines, and equipment that the manufacturers of Mars can currently produce. Like their forebearers among the Iron Hands, the Steel Confessors are utterly intolerant of physical or mental weaknesses in others, and the least of all in themselves. This harsh discipline has gone to some extreme situations, like when the chapter actually destroyed the Talaran 54th Regiment of the Imperial Guard for failure to achieve objectives. This intolerance of weakness manifests most notably in the distinct preference for high levels of cybernetic replacements of healthy portions of their bodies with augmetic bionics, which is quite a commonplace practice within the chapter, as it is in other Iron Hand successors. Spiritually, the chapter believes in a divine trinity that is a modified version of the faith held by the Adeptus Mechanicus. This trinity is composed of the Machine God, the universal spirit of knowledge that provides strength to all, and the Emperor of Mankind, who stands as the physical embodiment of knowledge incarnate, and the Machine God in the universe as the Omnissiah, and finally, their Primarch, Ferrus Manus, the greatest prophet of the Machine God. The majority of the other Space Marine chapters frown upon the Steel Confessors' obscene reverence for the mechanical and the physical embodiment of knowledge, just as they frown upon those chapters who adopt the Imperial Creed and revere the Emperor as a god, rather than as a father, an inspiration, and humanity's greatest guide. The Steel Confessor's bond with the Adeptus Mechanicus opens up the possibility for using Skitarii mercenaries in a battle. This powerful successor chapter is one that deserves more attention from those players who prefer a heavily mechanized chapter. The next chapter on the list is the Angels Penitent, which were once called the Angels Resplendent. Imperial records point to the existence of a loyalist successor chapter of the Blood Angels, known as the Angels Resplendent. What made these Scions of Sanguinius so special was that not one battle brother had ever succumbed to the genetic flaw that haunts the great Angel's children, the Black Rage. It is because of this that the chapter proudly wore its golden power armor, trimmed in silver and red, carrying their chapter badge of a hooded angelic figure with its arms raised and rejoiced with honor. While other chapters fought for glory or faith, the Angels Resplendent battled in order to attain perfection in life. This disciplined pursuit for perfection extended to every matter of life for the chapter. The Angels Resplendent were unique in that each battle brother viewed himself as a warrior artisan, crafting amazing works of art that decorated the chapter's fortress monastery of Canvalis. Each masterpiece displayed the battle brothers' individual skills and a rare appreciation for the aspects of human life beyond war. In the pursuit of their art, the Angels Resplendent believed that they were developing a discipline and an understanding of the broader needs of mankind that reinforced their commitment to the defense of humanity. This all changed when a mysterious individual, only referred to as the Undying Martyr, visited the chapter. The Undying Martyr was a mortal who had survived crossing the river Tristes that served as the moat of the Angels Resplendent's fortress monastery. Few Space Marines could have mastered the crossing of this river, and so it was a mystery how a mortal had achieved that feat. Instead of ending the stranger's life, the Undying Martyr was brought before Chaplain Ikaros Malvoisin for interrogation. The chaplain conversed with the stranger for 19 solar days before proclaiming him a prophet of the God Emperor who bore terrible new insight into the Imperial Creed. These truths were dark indeed, for he revealed that mankind was corrupted beyond redemption, and that its greatest guardians, the Adeptus Astartes, were the base of all sinners, for they had faltered and fragmented in a war against the arch-betrayer Horus. There could be no hope for ascension into the Emperor's light, only penance and pain for humanity's collective sins of past and future. The war was already lost, and the only course was to fight in the knowledge of certain defeat. Thus began the Great Purge of the chapter, where all activities and items considered blasphemous, including many objects once crafted by the warrior artisans of the chapter themselves. Things might have been different if the Angels Resplendent chapter master, Varsiva Cervantes, had been with the chapter during this harrowing time, but the Knight Resplendent had been absent for many standard years, campaigning with the chapter's elite first company. There had been no word of them since the Great Purge, and the chaplain, Malvoisin, had declared them lost, though many within the chapter refused to believe it. The Knight Resplendent would return some day to reclaim and redeem his chapter. In the absence of the chapter master, only Chief Librarian Athenzeus and his librarian brethren had denounced the Martyr's Testament. Inevitably, they were denounced as heretics, and soon those loyal battle brothers who followed the will of the chaplains obediently stormed the librarium, driven by a hatred for their kin that had been unmatched even in battles against Xenos. Athenzeus and his followers had awaited their brother's assault, absent of arms and armor, yet shielded by a contempt that brought the zealot charge to a standstill. The attackers waited for the frigid electric tang that presaged a psychic assault, but when Asontheos spoke, he said only a sentence: "We will rise on burning wings." This assault was compromised of only words, but they were the chapter's credo, delivered with a conviction that drained the poison from many of the attacking battle brothers. It might have been enough to stop this madness, but then the chaplain bellowed a new credo, the one revealed by the Undying Martyr. The Emperor condemns. The Angels Resplendent died that day, and the Angels Penitent rose from their grave, shadow-bound and bitter. The chapter is now ruled by a council of zealot chaplains called the Crown of Thorns. They judge those amongst their brethren who they consider to have sinned against the Emperor, which includes such minor offenses as creating scrimshaws honoring the Primarch Sanguinius, for they believe that art exalted the tyranny of the sin of vanity. Some within the chapter still secretly harbor their distrust of this new order, clinging to the chapter's old identity, believing they were once warrior artisans before the outsiders enslaved them. They know in their heart that their true skills lie in the arm and art in harmony, the true path of the Resplendent, but to voice such unpopular opinions is considered a sin in the eyes of the Crown of Thorns. Another worrying symptom of this new order is that the battle brothers of the chapter are now prone to falling victim to the Blood Angel's genetic curse, known as the Black Rage. It now appears that this curse flourishes freely enough to warrant the chapter raising a death company of its own. The chapter's heraldry has changed to black with streaks of umber. Their chapter badge is a large white skull with a gray crown of thorns upon its brow. The Angels Penitent's mysterious visitation from the Undying Martyr and their radical change deserves more attention from Games Workshop. And that's my list for underrated Space Marine successor chapters. I want to know yours. Comment down in the comment section below. Give me your top 4 or top 5 successor chapters. The reason I created this video is because I was looking at my old Primaris homebrew chapter. It's a project that I started and I never finished. And I was thinking, why don't I just adopt a successor chapter within the lore that already exists instead of trying to create my own. We'll see what happens with that project if I ever get enough time, which I probably won't because I still need to create some terrain videos. But if I ever do get time, I'll revisit that project and then see what I do with it. Now let's move on to announce the winner of the giveaway. You are winning a starter set of your choosing. We will have to figure out how we're going to order it on Amazon and have it shipped to you. But the winner is this guy. All you have to do is contact us either on Facebook, Instagram, or you could email us at onemindsyndicate1@gmail.com. You could try to message us on YouTube. I just don't know if they even have that anymore. Like private messages might not even be a thing for YouTube anymore. But either way, contact us and we will get everything straightened out. Now I do have an honorable mention for the successor chapters, and that is the Legion of the Damned. The reason I didn't include the Legion of the Damned on this list is because they've actually gotten a lot of love from Games Workshop lately. They fought alongside Guilliman during the Indomitus Crusade, I think it was. It was either the Indomitus Crusade or the Ultima campaign. But they've gotten a lot of love. Even third-party companies have created like helmets and different shoulder plates for the Legion of the Damned. But yeah, can't wait to find out what your list is like. If you guys enjoyed this video, share it with your friends. And if you enjoy our content, thank our patrons on Patreon. It is because of them that we can do this. Link in the description if you guys want to support us. But with that said, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. This is Gersh1 with One Mind Syndicate signing out.
Always used to put my freedom first.